T-minus 24 hours, like you said, till students come out here to camp in anticipation for the Duke-Syracuse game come Saturday evening. Now, usually SA has all their meetings right here in Maxwell Auditorium, but this year the pandemic brought a twist. They went from a hybrid model to fully online, and even right here in Huntington Beard Krause Hall's Kittredge Auditorium.
SU says they may offer hybrid online and in-person classes in the future. But for now, Zoom University is coming to an end. For Citrus TV News, I'm Chilekasi Adele.
It was a great weekend here at Tennessee Ice Pavilion as teams from 5 schools converged here on South Campus to see who comes out on top in the CHA tournament. Today, Syracuse University celebrated its 152nd anniversary on National Orange Day. The Shine Student Center becoming a party room. According to AAA, while prices at the pump are down a cent since last week in Syracuse, the average stands at $3.24 a gallon. The New York State average stands 4 cents higher, about $1 more than last year. AAA business advisor Bob Prendergast says summer travel and tropical storms are partly to blame. As for foreign affairs,
yeah, the Middle East always has a effect in the gas prices, especially with the Afghanistan thing going on right now.
And with that upward effect, some SU students feel pressed financially, balancing their budgets.
Definitely have less money to spend on like fun things on the weekends and stuff like that because I'm spending more on gas and food.
I've already made like 2 phone calls back to home asking for more money, which I didn't do at all last year. So having a car definitely added to my expenses quite a bit.
Parliamentarian Josh Schub-Seltzer says the concept of online meetings was so foreign, SA had to catch up.
We actually had to change our rules to allow us to do Zoom meetings. Because before COVID, we weren't allowed to do business electronically. It had to be in person.
When SA was forced to move fully online because of the school-wide COVID outbreak in November, outgoing SA President Justine Hastings says it was actually better for the organization than the hybrid meetings they'd been having previously.
With the hybrid model, it was sometimes difficult either for presentations or elections to kind of all be on the same page and like look at a screen. We found that when we switched to fully virtual that ironically the connections were more intimate.
SA finished its 64th legislative session Monday. Despite only 10.2% of the student body voting in this year's election, President-elect David Bruin says he's optimistic about the organization's future.
I think we're going to see a huge spike in engagement this fall and next spring.
SA will change again next year. Bruin says he plans to reimagine how SU student government works. They are planning to host fully in-person meetings next semester. Chilekasi Adele, Citrus TV News. Inside DeWitt Town Hall, the courtroom has become a polling center. This one of 6 early voting centers in Onondaga County. Now, none of those include Syracuse University's campus. SU does have one Election Day polling place. SA President David Bruin says there is legislation in Albany to improve access to voting on college campuses. He says he spoke with Governor Kathy Hochul about that when she visited SU for the 2020 commencement last month.
She said that it was a sort of common sense proposal and that if it got to her desk, she would support it.
Bruin is encouraging students to vote in these off-year elections. So is Onondaga County Legislature candidate Heather Waters, who previously served as Assistant Dean for Advancement in SU School of Education.
Don't just vote in presidential elections. Get to know even where you are at school or where you'll live after. Get to know the local governments because they are definitely impacting you every day.
As time ticks before Election Day, most students we spoke to say they don't really have a concrete plan yet.
I've been talking to my mom about it, but I haven't made a definitive decision.
Are you voting this year?
I don't know who would be.
Where are you voting?
Not entirely sure, no.
My mom hasn't told me that the letter came in yet.
RIT fans believed it would be them who raised the trophy.
Because everybody's 0-0 in the playoffs, baby! Let's go!
The 5th place Tigers upset 4-seed Lindenwood Thursday, only to have their dreams dashed by Syracuse's Abby Malotny the next day. Saturday's championship game between SU and Mercyhurst contained nerves, excitement,
adrenaline. Some families of the players crossed borders to watch their daughters, cousins, and sisters. Olivia Vasco came from Canada to see her sister, Mercyhurst grad student forward Alexa.
You can see a lot of these rural and suburban areas kind of in that red, but you can see the blue patches. You can see places like Richmond, Alexandria, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Roanoke. Those places went blue, but there are some caveats to that.
Orange galore this afternoon. Big signage on the Shine video wall and some orange snacks to take a bite into. Organizers for today's event, along with SU community members past and present on hand. Otto the Orange was here to greet those attending, along with Chancellor Kent Severud and Vice Chancellor Michael Haney. Then, around 12:30, a happy birthday from student a cappella group The Mandarins, with some cake cutting as well.
It's really 152 years, but also 152 opportunities to be grateful for what we've got going on.
SU students, faculty, staff, and alumni gathering here at the atrium, reminding themselves of how proud they are to be a part of the SU community. At the Shine Student Center, Chilekasi Adele, Citrus TV News. Take a look at this focus right here, right around Alexandria, Northern Virginia. Places like Fairfax County, places like Loudoun County, Prince William County, that is what made the difference for Republicans in this election.
Too many opportunities because Washington got it wrong. They took away our freedom without making us safer and tried to kill our spirit and our dignity.
So you hear him say there, Washington got it wrong. He didn't mention Democrats, he didn't mention Republicans. As a matter of fact, in his campaign ad and his op-ed, the only time he mentions a politician is in reference to Donald Trump, in which he lauded him for Operation Warp Speed. Of course, that was the former president's vaccine program to help get the vaccines out in the midst of the pandemic. We saw a recent Monmouth poll that said that 70% of Americans agree that, quote, it's time we accept that COVID is here to stay and we just need to get on with our lives, end quote. And if you break down the polling by party, of course, 89% of Republicans agree with that, but an increasing number of Democrats agree with that too, 47%. So if you look at that, and I think it really comes down to the fact that Omicron has kind of changed the game in terms of how the American public views COVID and the restrictions around it. So you mentioned the West. What is the White House saying about this? What is the United States saying about this conflict? Now, it's been more than a week since this not guilty verdict came down. We've seen in America division over cases like this and other ones over the past few years, deep divisions. How is America responding to this decision? So, Jake, Zeldin is somebody who's kind of known throughout to the New York State political scene, the New York State Republican political scene. Do you think there's any other Republicans in this race with a shot at the primary nod? And the Biden administration releases oil reserves in the wake of rising gas prices. How soon before you can see the effect at the pump? Tonight on News Live at 6, SU Student Association is continuing its trips to nearby grocery stores. Citrus TV reporter Tyler O'Neill speaks with SA President David Bruin about the initiative's future. And the biggest night of football is almost here. The Super Bowl is this Sunday. Citrus TV's Jared May compares the dueling quarterbacks' careers and what we can expect this weekend. News Live at 6 starts right now. And WNBA star Brittany Griner has been detained in Russia. Find out after the break why she was arrested. That and more when Citrus TV News continues tonight.
Your campus news leader.
If you don't have a car and need some groceries, finding a nearby store may be a little bit tough. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chilekasi Adele. If you plan to go to tomorrow's Syracuse men's lax game and have the vaccine, you won't have to mask up. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chilekasi Adele. And I'm Chilekasi Adele. Oscar Offerman has the night off. Hancock Airport and the Walsh Regional Transportation Center are expected to be full of college students heading home for spring break. It's a Syracuse and Rochester fusion. Two schools teaming up to combat food waste in the Empire State. Good evening at 6 o'clock. I'm Chilekasi Adele. A Utica man is dead after crashing his car into a utility pole early Saturday morning. Police found 36-year-old Edward Tanowski at the scene with serious injuries. Tanowski died shortly after the crash and was the only occupant in the car. Police believe that speed is the cause of the accident. Katie, thank you. New details tonight. Mary Grace Almondrez is now SU's new Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. Chancellor Kent Severud announced the news today after her appointment was approved by SU's Board of Trustees Executive Committee. Almondrez previously served as the University of Rhode Island's Chief Diversity Officer. The appointment comes after a search committee consisting of students, faculty, staff, and Board of Trustees members was formed. Almondrez will assume the position on June 1st. The Canadian capital of Ottawa is declaring a state of emergency due to protests from truckers over the country's vaccine rule. The Canadian government says that all truckers crossing the U.S.-Canada border needed to be vaccinated. Now to our main story. Russian forces are advancing on Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. While some Ukrainians have fled, others are staying to fight. Also, President Biden is joining other world leaders in slapping major sanctions on Russia. SU Student Association will have a new system for its elections. Last night, SA passed a bill created by President David Bruin that changes the elections of president, vice president, and comptroller to a ranked choice system. Voters will have the chance to rank candidates based on their preferences in numerical order. If no candidate receives a majority on the first try, the last place candidate is eliminated and counting continues until a candidate reaches the majority. Welcome back to Talking Points. The 2022 New York gubernatorial race is heating up as we draw closer to the primaries. Most lawmakers are showing support to provide relief to Ukraine. Here to break down 8 options Congress is considering is Talking Points congressional analyst Dominic Chapeau. Dominic. Katie, thank you. New York Attorney General Letitia James was in Syracuse today with an announcement about Syracuse tenants. With more is Citrus TV's Tyler O'Neill. He joins us now. Tyler, what can you tell us about today's press conference? The Russian military is also accused of using thermobaric vacuum bombs in Ukraine on Monday. These explosives distribute an aerosol fuel and suck oxygen out of the air to create a bigger explosion and can kill people by pulling air out of their lungs. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told media that this could potentially be a war crime.